What's up, all my movie loving maniacs? It's your boy Bangful B of the Lassiter Factor, and today I'm going to talk about Interstellar, which, as of last month, is celebrating its 10th anniversary, and I recently rewatched it for the first time. Now, I'm going to do things a little bit differently for this review because I got to talk about my history with my relationship with this movie, because obviously I like and respect this movie, but I've never really quite understood it at times. And part of the reason why is because I'm not going to sit here and act like science was my strongest subject back in school. But at the same time, I'm also not going to sit here and act like this is one of Christopher Nolan's best. Though it does have its fans out there, and I love y'all for liking this movie. And I'll also admit it was kind of whiplash for me to go from The Dark Knight Rises, which at that point was when I was really starting to become a fan of Christopher Nolan, and then go to this. It was like not quite what I expected from Christopher Nolan. But then, of course, he released more movies since this movie, and I understand what Christopher Nolan's going for. I may not agree with it all the time, but hey, I get it. And so now, coming back to this movie 10 years later, I gotta admit, I kind of like this movie a little bit more. Though I still don't think it's perfect, but I do like and appreciate and respect what Christopher Nolan was going with it. But I'm going to explain the plot of this movie almost beat by beat, at least for my perspective of how I perceive this movie, and then I'll talk about my overall thoughts of the cast and the director and special effects, everything. So let's review. So, Interstellar takes place in a future where the Earth is dying. All the major crops and everything are dying. And there's major blights going around, and there's dust storms. All the major technical and engineering professions out there are almost non-existent. You got to be a farmer, and everybody is a farmer just to basically save the Earth because they're running low on resources, and we need more farmers. Meanwhile, you got Cooper, who has two children. His wife has passed on, and he also lives with his father-in-law. And he used to work for NASA. He used to drive spaceships, but then he got laid off because they need more farmers. And they are living in a post-truth world where they're trying to convince more people to become farmers rather than pursue these careers like astronauts, to the point where they try to say that the moon landing was fake just to bankrupt the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, Cooper's daughter is getting these messages from what she thinks is a ghost, but then it is coordinates to this little section down below where NASA is working, and that's where they meet a couple more scientists where they tell them that there's two plans. Either we can go through this wormhole that leads to a galaxy with three other planets that have been discovered from previous space people. We gonna pick whichever one is the best place to inhabit and save the human race before the Earth dies. Or we just send a ship up into space full of embryos so that we can preserve the human race. But before we even find a planet, we gotta figure out an equation that solves the problem of gravity. Cooper volunteers to go on this mission, but there's the risk of him possibly being gone for several years, decades, because of time dilation. Of course, this upsets his daughter Murph, so she is very upset with him, holds a grudge against him. He goes up into space, and so they're up in space now, and they go to one planet where time dilation is a major factor. So, like, let's say 7 minutes there is like decades out on Earth. And so, Anne Hathaway's character, she basically wastes more time, and then decades go by, and we see that iconic scene where Cooper, he is going through all the messages of seeing all his kids get older and they're missing him. Anyways, they go to another planet where it's just made out of solid clouds. Some of them are not always solid, but anyways, that's when they get Matt Damon, who has been there, and he tries to help them see if the planet is habitable, but turns out he just sent the message just so he can get the fuck off this planet. Meanwhile, back on Earth, all of Cooper's kids are older now. Murph, she's helping Michael Caine trying to solve the equation still, but then on his deathbed, he reviews that there was never really no solving the equation. He just wanted to execute Plan B. And so now Murph is left trying to figure out what to do, and then she figures out that the coordinates sent by her ghost was her father himself. So back up in space, Coop, he basically tries to stop Matt Damon, in which Damon unintentionally unalives himself. But Coop manages to get Anne Hathaway's character, Dr. Brand, through the wormhole where she discovers the other planet where her former lover used to be, and That's where she starts the basically the alien, I mean not the alien, but the embryo colony, and that's at the end of the movie, but we'll get back to that. So anyways, Cooper, he finds himself in his tesseract that was made by God knows whoever, and so that's when he's able to go back to moments in time through his daughter Murph's bedroom and send her the coordinates that's able to basically solve the problem of gravity. And so he is in the future. He's on the Cooper station where they have solved gravity, and he meets the older version of his daughter, and she tells him to, yeah, I'm glad you're here, but now you must go to Brand. So that's basically the summary of the movie from my perspective. Now, on the surface, I will say, revisiting this movie 10 years later, I can the beginning of the movie where they're on where the Earth is dying, like to me, like that's a movie in itself. That was more interesting than all the space stuff, if I'm being honest. And living in a post-truth world, that is can be a very real thing and scary thing as well. Now, as far as Christopher Nolan goes, I'll admit he really did put his foot into making this movie. This is a very ambitious film. Did I think he did too much at times? Sure, but hey, I give him credit because he definitely made an excellent movie here. I do remember this movie coming out during the reconnaissance, and this was just another movie to add to that. And even I gotta admit, the scene where he's just breaking down, watching all the videos, watching all his kids get older, and he basically just missed out on time. That is just downright heartbreaking in itself. You got Mackenzie Foy, hot off of the last Twilight movie before she made this movie. And then you got Jessica Chastain playing the older version of Murph, and then Ellen Bernstein playing the much, much older version of Murph. And it is a little weird and just out of nowhere to see the older version of your child seeing the younger version of her parent. I was basically today years old when I watched this movie for the first time in 10 years when I realized that the younger version of Tom is Timothy Chalamet. Dang, he was always destined for greatness. Then you got Casey Affleck playing the younger version of Tom, and he was fine. Though let's be real, they did Tom dirty in this movie because like the movie's focused on the relationship between Coop and his daughter Murph, and that's the heart of the story. But at the same time, it's like y'all know y'all did the son dirty. It was a bit out of left field to see Matt Damon be the mystery person, and he wasn't in any of the marketing, which is smart in itself. But hey, this was also the start of the Matt Damon stuck in space movie trend that was happening at the time. Some other actors I do want to give glory to is Michael Caine and John Lithgow, two acting legends in one movie. I thought I would never see that. Then you got David Oyelowo, who plays one of the teachers in the movie that basically tried to assign where to put Murph and Tom in based on their intelligence. And as far as my personal feeling towards Christopher Nolan, I mean, I've had some disdain over some of the things he's done over the years as not necessarily as a filmmaker, but basically his whole attitude towards the pandemic and trying to get his movies out. But I still respect him as one of the best working filmmakers today, and this movie was a great movie to put on his resume. I definitely understood and liked this movie a lot more than I did 10 years ago. Do I love it? Not quite. And then for anything else, it's still a visually stunning movie to look at. I mean, there's a reason this movie won the Oscar for best special effects at the Oscars the year it came out, even though it won over Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which I think deserved it more. But hey, that's neither here or there. I'm just gonna let that be the past. I'm gonna give Interstellar a very low hard eyes emoji. Thank y'all so much for watching, and what did you think of my little recap of the movie itself? Do you think I was spot on? Do you think I'm a dumbass? And what do you think of the movie overall 10 years later? Do you like it? Do you love it? Let me know in the comments section below. This is your boy Bangful B of The Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.